Hi, everybody. Good morning. This is Claudia De Silva, your favorite red hair realtor, not only in Houston, but also internationally. And as we have been doing this year here at our Ask the Expert interview podcast, video podcast, nevertheless, we are streaming live from all of my channels. We are live officially on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Where are we going live? We have guests from all over the world. In this first segment of the year, I am actually inviting guests from Portugal to talk about different things. Today, we have someone that is the life testament of someone that moved from the US with the company, with the family, and moved all the way to Portugal. Why did they choose Portugal? How are they running their company over there, raising a family, having a baby, and still buying a house? And how is that experience? So she's going to be joining us here shortly. If you guys have any questions about how to move to Portugal, how to find properties, on what can my money get me over there, we have had podcasts with companies that help us renovate, build. We have interviews with traveling companies that help us figure out curated trips for you or your family, one person, two or more. We have had interviews with real estate experts in Madeira, in Porto, and today we have Jen Mills. Jen is an expert in marketing. She is an expert in all things brand creation, visual consultant. So if you have your own company and you want to investigate that, she's the right person. And then she's going to talk to us about this passion project of hers, Earth to Family. But this is her story to tell, not mine. So without further ado, I'm going to have my good friend Jen here join us. Hey, Jen.
Hi. I'm sorry I was running late. I had to grab my coffee. So
Same here. You guys, if you are tuning in just now, I am here in Houston, Texas, and Jen is actually in Portugal. Where are you located in Portugal, Jen?
yeah, so we're in Braga right now. When we first moved over here, we were in Lisbon, and we just moved up to Braga. Well, I say we just did, but it's been almost a year now that we've been here. So we're up in the north of Portugal now.
It goes fast when you're having fun, right?
Yes, it's true. It's true. I know. Time flies. Yes.
I know. So we actually know each other now for a couple of years, not personally, but I feel like it is in a
I
way.
know.
But we connected because of your project Earth to Family. A couple of years I was looking for companies already based in Portugal that were from the US, and I came across your passion project and then your company Jen Mills Design, and we started talking. It has been working. The bun has been in the oven for a while. So tell me, let's start from the beginning. Jen, the decision was before you even met me. What made you move to Portugal in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's like always, we get that question all the time. It's a very long story, but we like to summarize it because we could just ramble on. Basically, what spurred the move here was that my husband was working really long hours, and he was not getting home till late at night. He was leaving early in the morning, and so we were ready for a change. Basically, at that point, I had my own business working from home, and so I could take my business anywhere. So we started looking around the country. He started looking at different job opportunities. And in the middle of kind of just feeling around, seeing what was out there, we took a holiday to Lisbon, and we just fell in love with it. And it was, we just loved the city so much. We just really connected with it. And when we got home, we said to each other, we just turned to look at each other and we said, what if we move there? And at first it was like one of those, you get back from a vacation and you always say, oh, what if we move there? And it was kind of like just in the sky, kind of a dream. But then we really started digging into it, trying to figure out, okay, well, if we did move there, what would we have to do? What would the steps be? And so we started digging into it. And then we were like, let's just do it. Why not? And so that was back in 2019 was when we first came here to live, October of 2019. So it was like right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, we sold all of our belongings, shoved a few things in some suitcases, grabbed our kid, and hopped on a plane.
But before we even dive deeper into this, I'm always curious because I've traveled all over the world, and when I'm traveling, there has been some places like I'm like, yeah, I could live here. But what were the factors for your family with a
Yeah.
young child with jobs in the US that you were like, yeah, this can be home? What were the factors?
That's a great question. Well, for us, we were living in Los Angeles before we moved here, and there were things that we loved about living in California, like the ocean, the weather, and so we knew that we kind of wanted something by an ocean, something with nicer weather. My husband and I are both from the Midwest originally, so we're like, we're done with the freezing cold winters. We just can't handle it. Like, we did that. So we knew like we wanted a certain climate, and we knew we wanted, kind of near enough to a beach, because we really love the beach. We wanted a place that was super family oriented. Um, and those were like some of probably the three main things that we were looking for: something family oriented, something with good weather, something near the beach. And Lisbon right away like ticked all those off like immediately. And we were blown away, especially on the family aspect of it, of how welcoming Portugal is as a country to families and to children in general. Being in a big city like Los Angeles, I won't say that children are discouraged, but you go out to a restaurant in LA and people are with your kid, and people are like, oh, that kid's being loud and noisy and annoying. And here it's like you take your kid out to a restaurant, people are patting him on the head and asking him questions, and it's just a totally different environment. And so yeah, those were the things we just knew that we wanted, and Portugal had all of those things. Um,
And Lisbon is one of the most popular destinations, not only for the last couple of years, it has been on the charts, top city to visit in Europe, but um, it's a safe city. So did you
yeah,
feel that you felt safe walking everywhere? Because I've seen your
oh,
pictures,
very
you
much.
guys. If you go on Instagram and follow Earth to Family, that I'm going to put right now in the comments, please do. There's so many cool pictures. I was so envious. I was leaving through Jen because I couldn't travel, and so it was awesome. But did you feel safe? And also talk about affordability. That's something I
Yeah,
always want to share.
definitely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we felt. I don't think I've ever felt so safe in a big city before, to be honest with you. Again, coming from Los Angeles, I mean, it's night and day. It was really night and day as far as the safety aspect. Going out at night, I never felt uncomfortable. I never felt nervous for safety at all. And in fact, I felt a lot of my anxieties really left when I moved, because LA just kind of had me really wound up and really nervous about a lot of things. And in Lisbon, I really was able to kind of like let a lot of that go. So the safety of the city is incredible for being, I mean, Lisbon is still a big city, but to feel safe in a big city like that was amazing. And then the other issue, as far as the affordability, yeah, I mean, again, coming from LA, one of the most expensive cities in the country, we were just, again, one of the reasons why we were looking to move in the first place was we were just like, why are we doing this for ourselves? Our apartment in Los Angeles was almost $3,000 a month, and we were just like, this is like not worth it. And so, yeah, the affordability of this country, not only, I mean, Lisbon is getting up there, but there's so many other places to live in Portugal,
Yeah.
that are like super affordable, really, like, again, safe and wonderful for families. And that's, again, one of the reasons we chose Braga as well.
And that's why I wanted to have you here. I'm so excited you're here because when I was looking for guests to interview, there was no one else better to leave a testimonial here of someone that has moved from the US, is in Portugal. You
Mhm.
moved and you did everything during COVID.
Yes.
You are raising a family, you had a baby, you have a passion project and a company to run, and you managed to purchase a home. All of this in the last 2 years with COVID
Yes.
around you. So, the kudos to you. I am so excited to see your family grow. And you got a puppy too. You have a big Serra da Estrela. That's a very Portuguese dog.
Yes, it's a very Portuguese dog. She's ginormous.
She is ginormous. When you told me it was a Serra da Estrela, I was like, wow. So no wonder
Yeah.
you had to buy a house that had the land for it, because in a condo that wouldn't work. They need the
Oh
space.
God, I think out of everyone, the dog is the most excited about the new house.
I can imagine. She's like, I can finally run. No more balcony
Yeah,
for me. I can
yeah,
go out and be free. I
so true.
understand. So, Jen, tell us a little bit about your background. I wanted to share with everybody your company, Jen Mills Design. You are up and running in Portugal. I know you're working on your Portuguese language services, but if someone speaks English, you are tremendous on brand design. You are a marketeer and you are a coach and visual consultant. I know things slow down a little bit because you had a baby, but you're up and running. So tell us, what are you really offering right now? What are your services?
Well, I'm a brand consultant, and so I'm really specializing in helping small businesses, small to medium businesses, really pull their brand together, because so many people think that, okay, I need a logo, done. Then you get your logo and you're like, okay, now what do I do with it? Or they think like, okay, branding, logo, that's it. But really, there's so much more to branding than just a logo. It's the entire look and feel of your entire company. It's really the heart and soul of your company, and who you're serving, and why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. And so that's my passion, is helping business owners to really figure that out, and how to utilize branding, not just to stand out from your competition, but also to really draw in your ideal customers that you don't have to chase down, but they'll come to you because of your branding. And so that's what I really love doing. Those are the projects that I'm most passionate about. So, and yeah, like you said, my Portuguese is not so great right now, but we are working on it. I'm getting there, taking a class.
But again, you are a testimonial right here for so many things. It's possible to move with a young family to Portugal, to find affordability, to find safety. You can integrate in the community. I feel that you are very welcome there. I think you can feel that
Yeah.
you're very welcome, although you don't even speak Portuguese, and you went to the north of Portugal, where the English is even less than in Lisbon and other places, but it's there. You don't have issues on your day to day doing anything, and then you run a
Yeah.
company from home. And that's a trend we have seen a lot, and I really wanted to have you here today to be a testimonial to that. Is we have a lot of young professionals that are working from home. They have their own companies, and they are moving to Portugal because, one, internet services are great, and you can work from home with high speed internet, and the time difference is not that bad. It's not that you are in the other side of the world. It's 11:15 here in Texas, and is 5:15 p.m. in Portugal. So that's
Yeah.
not a bad. So how have you found running your company in Portugal right now? Do you have a lot of clients
Yeah.
in the US, still around the world? How is that working?
Well, I've been really fortunate, because most of my clients from the U.S. have stayed with me over as I moved to Portugal, which has been fantastic. And honestly, the time change I have found to be more of a bonus than anything, because I'm ahead of things. So I'm able to really kind of get a jump start on a lot of projects, and I'm able to work on things that it's almost like I'm ahead of schedule all the time. So it kind of benefits me to be working with the East Coast clients. Getting on phone calls, that's where it gets a little tricky. Not necessarily the East Coast, but the West Coast gets a little tricky, because then it's 8 hours difference. But even with that, it's really not too bad, because basically I just tell my clients there, like, I need to do morning calls with you. And so their morning is my evening, and it works out great. But it's been it's been a huge adventure setting up my company here in Portugal. So we are a Portuguese company. And so figuring out everything that goes along with that, finding an accountant here, and all the people to help support our business here in Portugal has been a real journey in and of itself. But we're really proud to be a Portuguese company now, and it's something that we really worked hard to do and to accomplish, and so we're really proud to offer that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we know that every move has their own, pros and cons. Nothing is perfect, and certainly Portugal isn't perfect. There's no perfect country, but it's just a question of adjusting to the culture and how things do really work, setting up expectations. Now, you guys went, full in, like you didn't even get the kind of help we are trying to do here with Move Us to Portugal, for example, where we already have in place the people that can help you when you are there. You just got there and then you figure it out. That I love that. That's the true Portuguese adventure spirit. You're already Portuguese in your soul. So tell me, what were the biggest hurdles? Let's share with people. Let's be real. It's fine. What
Yeah.
are the biggest hurdles? Let's
Oh, that's easy for me. Easy answer. The number one regret, we look at each other, me and my husband look at each other all the time. We're like, oh my God, why? Number one regret is our driver's license. So we had our US driver's license. We came over here and we're like, oh yeah, we'll transfer our driver's license over to Portuguese driver's license. No big deal. Yeah, well, our American driver's license expired. And so then we're like, okay. Still, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. No, it wasn't fine. So basically, I need to take the Portuguese driver's test, which everyone says is like extremely difficult. I would love to hear your story, by the way, if you have any tips.
I did it in Holland. I learned to drive in Holland and did everything in Dutch, and I passed first time. So
all the Portuguese people that I've talked about here about the driver's test, they're always like, "Oh yeah, it was horrible." When I was, when I was a teenager learning how to drive, I failed the test 5 times, and like everyone talks about what a nightmare the Portuguese driving test is. So I'm really not.
And it's also way more expensive than in the US. Here is $25. In Portugal is.
Oh yeah, I don't even know.
600 euros. I don't even know anymore, but it's about that.
Something like that. Plus, it's all in Portuguese. So, again, I'm like, it's pushing me to learn the language, but like, yeah, just another kind of added stress of like, okay, I've got to take this test that everybody fails. Plus, it's in a language that I'm not really that comfortable with, but it is what it is.
So what could you have done differently? What was the solution? Did you needed to have transferred to a European driver's license? What was
basically, if we had moved here and transferred our license immedately, I think that none of this would have been an issue. I think the government gives you a certain amount of time from getting your residency card to transfer over your U.S. Driver's license, just to switch it. You basically just switch it over. You have to fill out all that paperwork, which I've also heard is kind of a headache, but I mean, whatever, it's paperwork. You have to fill out some paperwork and then you just exchange the license. You don't have to take a test. You don't have to do anything like that. So yeah, if I could do it all over again, that's without a doubt the number one thing. The reason we put it off, honestly, was because we were living in Lisbon at the time. We didn't need a car. We never once felt like, oh, I wish we had a car. Like we were able to get around on public transportation, and the subway system is great. We took the train when we wanted to go, visit different parts of Portugal. And, we hopped on an airplane when we wanted to take, longer trips. So it just was never an issue. We were never like, oh, we really want a car. No, it wasn't until we moved to Braga where we really, needed a car, wanted a car. And then we were like, oh, yeah, okay, whoops.
Wow. Well, so do you have pass the test now? Are you studying for that? What's going on?
I'm studying for it currently. My husband actually, so he, a few months ago, he flew back over to the US and he, what do you call it? Like, I can't think of the word. I have like total mom brain right now. I have a baby. I can't think of the word. he renewed. That's the word.
Renewed. Okay.
He renewed his his U.S. driver's license a few months ago. So now he's good because he has a U.S. driver's license, and now he can do that exchange. So he can go ahead and do that. For me, it was already too late because of our license expired at different times. So he just slid in under the requirement level. So he's now just filling out the paperwork to transfer it, like we should have done all along. But yeah, I'm in the process. It's not going to work for me. I have to go through the whole situation. So, which will be great for the Earth to Family channel because I'll take that along with me on my journey to getting a Portuguese license.
Absolutely. Look, you can do it. And it's going to be a good way to learn. And you're going to have this adventure like I do that I can say in Holland, in Dutch, I passed a test that Dutch nationals did not pass.
Oh my God.
So you're gonna be awesome. You're gonna be like, no, I'm from the US and I passed first time. Sorry.
Yeah. I'd be like, why? What does everyone think it's so hard? It's easy.
You can totally do this. Now let's talk about some other things that people always ask me, and you are so good to actually answer this kind of thing just from your experience. It's maybe not everyone's experience, but it's yours, and it's totally on point right now. Like health insurance, things like that. How did you find the health system different from where you came from in LA?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Healthcare. Well, we got private insurance. So right away we got the private insurance, and the private insurance here is really reasonable, not expensive, and it allows us to really see the doctors that we want like right away. So that's what we've been using mostly is the private insurance. We had a really great hospital in Lisbon that we were going to all the time. And honestly, I never had any issues with there. The waiting there was like nothing. That was one of the biggest surprises for me actually with the healthcare system, because with private insurance, I would, the doctor would say, oh, your appointment is at 10 a.m., right? So in the US, like I would say, okay, your appointment's at 10 a.m. I would get there probably like, 15 minutes before and expect a nice wait because like no one is ever on time for appointments. I would get to my appointment in Lisbon at 9:45 and they would see me early. And I'd be like, this is like really weird. I've never been
like, what? Is that possible?
Yeah, like it was super, like I would bring a book, ready to like, oh, I'm just gonna sit in the waiting room and read. No. Right. So that was really surprising. I've heard that the public system isn't like that. It's a little, you have to wait a little longer, but we've had really great experience with the private healthcare system. The one experience, well, we've had a couple experiences actually with the public system. So my son, we have a 7-year-old son and a baby. But the 7-year-old, he broke his arm last year, and so he had to go to the hospital, and they took him to the public hospital. We did an ambulance ride and the whole 9 yards. It was pretty exciting. But so he had to have surgery and had to have a cast and all of this stuff. But honestly, that was all through the public system. Everyone was great. Everyone treated him really well. The doctors there were fantastic. So even that situation went really well. I also gave birth at a public hospital, and again, the birth was great. I felt like all the nurses really took care of me really well. So, in general, I feel like the healthcare here is really great. The only thing that's been a little iffy is, again, the language and finding a doctor that you can communicate with and who can explain things to you and take the time. But that's been really the main issue. Other than that, I feel like the healthcare system is really, really good here.
But you still manage to find, especially on the specialized fields, there is a lot of doctors there that do speak English. Maybe not at a level that we are accustomed, but they do speak English.
Oh, absolutely. My husband's trick is he always tries to find the youngest doctor because it's like our generation like is good with English. Once you get into like the older generations, like the English gets a little spotty. So we're like, okay, let's get like the youngest doctor we can find, and like we know we'll be good.
This is so great. You guys, if you just tuned in, I'm here today with Jen Mills. She is actually in Portugal. I don't know. Do you have coffee or wine in there? Spill.
It's coffee. It's got my coffee in there. I know I said yesterday, I was like, it might be wine, but honestly, I need a little pick me up. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so
Having two kids, I can imagine. I can imagine. But it is a happy hour in Portugal, technically. It's after 5 p.m., so you are entitled and no one would judge you. I
almost
wouldn't.
there. Almost there. So close. So close. Once the kids are in bed, then it's smooth sailing.
Glass of wine with dinner is very Portuguese of you. Don't worry about that. So, if you just tuned in, here I am with Jen Mills. She is a brand designer, marketer, coach, consultant of branding. And we connected a couple of years ago with her passion project, Harth to Family, where she kind of journaled her adventures here, moving to Portugal from the US. And I wanted to invite her to talk to us about her experience. You know, she just purchased a home. We're going to touch that subject now. But so far, we have learned that if you come from the US, transfer your license before you get here and let it expire. And find the youngest doctors you can because they speak English.
Tips. Like my husband will actually, he'll go on the website and he'll be like, okay, let's look at everyone's picture. Okay, that person's young. That's who we're going with.
I know, it's so fun. But now, and because that's what we mainly do here, we talk to people about buying houses in Portugal and things like that. Tell us just a little bit about your experience. How was that, buying a house in Portugal?
That was a really fun experience. So we started looking for a house. When was it? It was probably like it's in the summer. It was in the summer. I had a baby in the summer too, so everything's a little foggy there as far as the dates go. But we started looking in the summer, and we knew what we wanted. We knew we wanted to get some land because after all these years in apartments, we were ready to get outside. I think especially with COVID, COVID really taught us like it would be nice to have some outdoor space. And so we knew we wanted some land. We knew we wanted to be, again, in a really family-friendly area. We knew we really loved the north of Portugal. So we had taken a few trips up here when we were living in Lisbon, and we just love the vibe here in the north. And so when we moved here to Braga last year, we were like, okay, we're going to move to Braga, and then we're going to start looking for a house. And so the house journey, we ended up finding a realtor out here who was really fantastic, and he showed us around to some different places. But we also were on Idealista a lot, and just kind of like keeping an eye. That's a website that has a lot of houses on it. There's no MLS system here. Obviously, you know that, Claudia, but in case your audience isn't aware. So there's no like centralized place. There's no like Zillow or Trulia or anything like that. So you kind of have to like just keep a really open eye for a bunch of different things. But we also told our realtor like what we were looking for, and he was really good at finding some things that were interesting to look at. But I think in looking at properties, we definitely got a sense of like what we didn't want. So like one of them was this really gorgeous property, but it was right on a river, which sounds amazing, but the river floods every year. So we were like, okay, that's a big no. Like we can't handle like flooding water coming into our house. And so it was very interesting, I think, to go around, especially to houses that were out in the country, because it was very different buying a house out in the country versus buying like a condo in the city. And there's a lot of like every house is very unique. There's no real like there's no real suburbs here that we found. Like, we actually lived in Kentucky for a while in the suburbs. So we were kind of like out in the country there, but like every house was like the same. So it was like the same model or a variation of like 5 different models of houses. So you kind of understood like what you were getting into. Here, looking at all these houses, each house was completely unique, completely individual. So it is kind of a journey of like narrowing down like the things that we didn't want. And when we found this house that we actually ended up buying, when we got there, it was kind of a really emotional decision. We just kind of knew when we stepped on the property, like it was just a very, very special place. Um, and it was actually way out of our price range. But we were able to negotiate with the seller and fantastic deal on it. So that experience was really, I don't know, it just felt like everything kind of aligned and everything fell into place to
Right.
make that house kind of happen for us. So
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that because one, we have actually been here on our podcast, but also on Move Us to Portugal. That's our Facebook group. If you go to Move Us to Portugal, you will find that we have a ton of information always about different things when moving to Portugal. Either you are moving permanently or you're just investing, you want to do Airbnb, things like that. And one of the things is that we have realtors. So I have personally connected with realtors from north to south and the islands in Portugal to allocate local knowledge, top producers, meaning that they sell a lot of homes and they have a lot of knowledge about the local area to help you. Because just as Jen mentioned, there is things that look great on the internet. If you go to Idealist, I put the link on the comments, everybody, but you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know if the river floods it. And there's no MLS like we have here in the US. We are so blessed to have information that says, did this home flood? Are there any records of flood? Are there any claims made on this home? That does not exist in Portugal. You really
yeah,
need to rely on your agent. You need to trust your real estate agent. So that's why we did the work for you. If you're looking to buy a house in Portugal, we have agents ready to help you that speak English, are used to help Americans. But this was all after Jen started to look for a home because we just reconnected again after she had a baby, and she's like, "Oh, Claudia, I didn't even know you had all of this in place." So
yeah, it's
it,
amazing. Amazing.
that's exactly because of those experiences that I wanted to have a team that can help. Because how do we know? We know it's affordable. We know it's safe, but where to buy? There's,
Yeah,
and not having a system like an MLS to look for it, we need to rely on the local expert to help us. That's why we do what we
absolutely.
do. Now, tell me, I always find very interesting. Like when we went to Holland, my husband's American way of looking at a home was very different than mine. But plus, I already had lived in Holland. I know what to expect. So he had a shock. He had a cultural shock. He did not imagine. So tell me, what was the biggest shocks for you when looking at homes compared to what you were accustomed here?
Oh God, the biggest shocks.
Sizes, architecture, maybe not having two bathrooms.
Yeah, well, I think in general, we've never owned uh, an old house. Okay, so like all the houses that we've lived in have been new. So to be looking at properties that were hundreds of years old, like that in itself to me was a shock. And again, it's what we wanted. Like we knew that we wanted it, but it's one thing to kind of like have this idea and this dream of like, oh, I want to live in this old house. And the reality of stepping foot on some of these old houses and going, oh my God, this is like old. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it really was, it was an
It's
eye opener.
different because houses here,
Yeah,
if they are 20 years old, we already consider them old homes.
right.
And in Portugal, it's 200, 300 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the houses we looked at was absolutely, it was, it was amazing. It was gorgeous. When we stepped foot on that house too, we were like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, it was, but it had, I don't know why I'm saying but. I should be saying and it had a vineyard. And we were walking around, and this vineyard was, I don't even know, 100 years old. And we're walking around, and we're like, oh my God, we could own a vineyard. And we're like, oh, and then we're like, wait, we know nothing about wine. I mean, we know we like to drink it. We know nothing about vineyards. Like, we have no business owning a vineyard. And that house too was also like, a couple hundred years old, probably 300-400 maybe. And again, it was just one of those, like, this is like a really beautiful house, but it wasn't right for us. It wasn't like, it just wasn't, it wasn't what we needed. And it was easy to try and get swept away in the idea of like owning a vineyard, but then we were just like, that doesn't make sense, and we wouldn't be doing justice to that house either.
Right.
Some like two idiots like come to like, let's take care of a vineyard.
Oh, wine. Come on, the Mills red wine.
Yeah, I mean. So yeah, I think that in itself has been like a really interesting experience of just like, getting into the old, this old house kind of properties where, before we've always been in very new houses, very new builds. When we lived in Kentucky, our house there that we owned, I think it was 1 year old when we moved into it. So it was like a brand new house. And all the apartments we lived in have been very new, or modern, at least I should say. So that experience to me, I think, has been the biggest eye opener as far as house hunting here. So.
Jen, I cannot thank you enough. This has been so much fun. I really enjoyed talking to you. I am so excited you were here because people got to hear from someone that went through the whole journey. And again, I don't know how you did it. You went to Portugal right before COVID. You did everything with COVID. I mean, you had a baby, you're growing a business, you're moving countries, you're trying to get your driver's license, you're buying a house, you move cities. I mean, you got a dog, the biggest dog you could find.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because my husband and I were just talking yesterday after I spoke with you, and I was just like, you know what? We're kind of like the people who just bumbled through it. Like, we didn't really know what we were doing, but we just kind of like, I think we're the prime example of like, if we can do it, you can do it, And obviously having an expert like Claudia in your corner would have made things so much smoother for us along the way. Like, looking back, if we had an expert like to guide us through some of these issues, it would have been like much smoother of a journey. But it wouldn't have been as entertaining probably. So
well, yeah. And then we couldn't have learned as well, because it's because of brave people like yourself and your family that we saw the need of creating the movers to Portugal. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that. It was way too many people having, and you were brave enough. Like, you picked up and you went with a young family, and thank goodness you had these jobs you could do from home, so that was not a problem. But we have a lot of families that don't have the exact situation, but they still want to do it. So we want to help them, have a smoother transition, and to kind of know in advance what they can expect. But I love it. You did great. And I'm so happy you're flourishing there and you have a beautiful property. Before we go here, we are about at our time. I know you have a family and a baby to go take care of and a business to run. So before we go, is there anything you want to share with everybody about your company? Anything that you think is important for people to know? The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly, thank you, Claudia, for having me on. And we love to talk to people. We love to connect with people who are looking to, do this crazy journey as well. And I'm really excited to kind of see what the next chapter is, and again, to have people follow in our footsteps if they would so choose. So Earth to Family is our YouTube channel, and it's sort of been on a little bit of a hiatus right now because of the baby and the move and all of that. But just stay tuned to that channel. We're going to have some more videos coming up soon, some more things going on there. My business is Jen Mills Design, and like I said, I'm super passionate about helping other businesses to brand themselves, to get noticed, to reach their ideal clients. And whether you're in the U.S. and you want to transition over to Portugal to build your company here, or if you're just in the U.S. and you just are looking for that fresh eye on things, I'm happy to have a free consultation with anyone who wants to talk about branding, how to make their brand better. That's something that I'm always eager to do to help out with people. And yeah, I'm like I said, I love to talk to people. I love to meet new people. So
Absolutely. Thank you for your time here today. And you guys, you're going to hear more from us because Jen and I are trying to partner so we can help you even better. Exactly what Jen just mentioned. So we have been helping people to move, but for me, it's more than just a transaction. We want to make sure that you are set. And we do have a lot of interest lately of people that do work virtually, remotely from home, and they want to move to Portugal. So I know Jen is going to be like so important and crucial on that setting up of the company. So you're going to hear more from us. Jen, thank you for your time.
thank you, Claudia. It's always so nice to catch up with you. You're such a beautiful person. And it's so funny that we've never met in person because I really feel like
we know each other.
I know. Yeah.
We're so comfortable.
When we finally get together, it's going to be awesome.
No one will stand us. We will be like super loud and whatever else. But you hopefully this year, I'm definitely looking into going to Portugal again this year. So we have so many meetings to go through, and I cannot wait to see you in person. Thank you for your time today. Congratulations on everything you have achieved. And we cannot wait to have you again. So thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everybody, for staying in and coming back week after week. Bye. See you next week.
Ciao. Bye.